Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here today. My name is Catherine Houston and I'm here with my teammates Abhinav, Juno, and David, and we are here to present our AISTS team project where we conducted market research for the International Ski Federation regarding freestyle ski and snowboard. So today I will bring us through our project background as well as our research objectives and research process. We will then look at the analysis and analysis by stakeholders, concluding with our recommendations. Before we get into the content, I just want to let you know what freestyle ski and snowboard is. So in freestyle ski, we have 5 disciplines: aerials, slopestyle, moguls, halfpipe, and ski cross. And this year in Sochi, halfpipe and slopestyle made their Olympic debut. We also have 5 disciplines for snowboard as well: snowboard cross, halfpipe, parallel giant slalom, and slopestyle. And again, slopestyle made their Olympic debut this year. So project background. Due to the great success that freestyle ski and snowboard has had during the Olympic Games in the past couple of years, the International Ski Federation, or as we will refer to as FIS throughout the presentation today, wants to improve their freestyle ski and snowboard World Cup events, especially during the 3 non-Olympic years. So in particular, they want to improve their marketability and sponsorship opportunities, the audience interest, and the broadcasting interest. This led them to come to AISTS and to us to conduct some market research on how to do so. Our research objectives. So our project is divided into 2 phases. The first phase, we looked at existing stakeholders. So we've got 6 stakeholder groups, including athletes, coaches, national ski associations, or we will say MSAs, local organizing committees, or LOCs, and then marketers and broadcasters. For this phase, our goal was really to understand why they choose to participate in or host freestyle ski events, how FIS is doing well and where they can improve. And then for marketers and broadcasters, we would like to understand what makes an event effective and interesting to market and broadcast, and where FIS is meeting these needs and where they can improve as well. For our second phase, we looked at potential cooperation and commercial opportunities. So we looked at third-party events such as the X Games, and as well as potential partners and sponsors. For this area, we would like to understand where FIS, again, is doing well and where they can improve compared to external third-party events, and then what makes an event appealing to sponsor, and how FIS is doing well and where they can improve. For all stakeholders in phase 1 and phase 2, one of our big objectives is to understand whether they're open to participating in third-party cooperation and what the level of interest is for the coordination of TV broadcast rights. Our research process. With the first four stakeholder groups, athletes, coaches, NSAs, and LOCs, we conducted an online survey where we collected both quantitative and qualitative data results. This survey was completed by over 600 people online with a 39% completion rate. So we had 92 athletes complete the survey, 65 coaches, 34 NSAs, and 25 LOCs. We then analyzed our preliminary responses, and we even presented these findings at the FIS Congress in June in Barcelona. After that, we did one-on-one interviews with broadcasters, marketers, and moved on to phase 2, where we did one-on-one interviews with sponsors, third-party events, and a FIS staff member. Upon completion of gathering all of the data, we were able to analyze the overall findings in order to create our recommendations. I will now pass the presentation on to Abhinav, who will discuss our key findings for phase 1.
Thank you, Catherine. Good morning, everyone. Now, during phase 1, we distributed the survey across 4 stakeholder groups that were mentioned earlier by Catherine. And because of the larger number of responses collected and the consistency across the different findings, we chose to collect or take the key findings across the different stakeholder groups and speak about them when it came to the report and the recommendations that we made. And the first finding was that the athlete needs are a top priority when it comes to the stakeholder groups involved. We asked the athletes as well as coaches what were their major reasons or what were the major deciding factors for them to choose to participate in freestyle ski and snowboard events, and they said that the quality and safety of course, the quality of competitors and the atmosphere at these events is very important for them to consider when choosing to participate in these events, as can be seen by the graphs that we have put together on this presentation. The athletes were about 92 in number who responded, and there were about 69 coaches who responded to the survey and completed the responses that we had asked of them. When it comes to the NSAs as well as the NOCs, primary reason for them choosing to host freestyle ski and snowboard World Cup events is raising the awareness levels of the sport in their respective spheres of influence, and also raising participation levels, which may also extend to out of competition participation. This was something that was not covered by the scope of the project. And event reputation is extremely important for them to consider when choosing to host freestyle ski and snowboard events. And through subsequent responses that we collected regarding partnership and knowledge sharing and how that might be useful for freestyle ski and snowboard disciplines, we found that they were largely in favor of indulging in these endeavors. Now, quality of judging is something that everyone felt is in need of improvement at FIS Freestyle Ski and Snowboard World Cups. This is a deciding factor for athletes and coaches to compete, and as can be seen for the graph over here, athletes as well as coaches are dissatisfied with the level of quality of judging that is on offer at FIS Freestyle Ski and Snowboard World Cup disciplines. You can see a higher level of satisfaction, yet less than around 50% for the NSAs. Now this may be because they are dealing with a larger number of cases and thus have been able to get a more balanced and reasonable approach in their responses or in their attitude towards the quality of judging. Through the qualitative research that we collected for the NSAs, these were the comments that we had asked for. They said that they have noticed an improvement in the quality of judging at FIS Freestyle Ski and Snowboard World Cups. So whatever FIS has been doing in this regard is beginning to make an effect, having an impact, and it is something positive for them to consider. We asked the question if indulging in agreements or potential partnerships with external events would be beneficial for FIS, and the coaches, NSAs as well as the LOCs were largely in agreement with this particular question. The athletes, a majority of them, were also in agreement with this question. Now, the large number who were in disagreement or did not know about it may be because they are not adequately educated about what this might entail and what might be the benefits of engaging in this particular aspect. At present, FIS does not control the central broadcasting rights of its World Cup properties. These are handed down to the NSAs, who then approach the different broadcasters and sell these rights. We were asked to consider the possibility of FIS actually holding the central broadcast rights, and we asked the direct question to the NSAs as well as the LOCs because they are the participating parties in this particular aspect. And when you look at the levels of agreement, they are significant, more so in the case of the LOCs, but a large number are not really certain about how to respond to this particular question. So this raises the possibility of FIS engaging in educational sessions with these parties, these players, and really telling them what they want to do. When it comes to the importance of TV and media coverage, it is a deciding factor for NSAs as well as LOCs when they choose to host events, and they are dissatisfied with the levels of coverage that are on offer at this particular point of time. When it came to the qualitative questions and the subsequent questions that we asked, a large number of LOCs as well as the NSAs, which might not be reflected in these graphs but were reflected in the questions, agreed that it will only be beneficial for them if FIS controlled the central broadcasting rights and then handed them down on an event-to-event basis. At present, FIS provides additional staff and services such as technical directors and data and timing services for the events, and the NSAs as well as the LOCs are satisfied when it comes to these aspects. We asked a subsequent question, what are the different aspects that they would want FIS to help them out with, and they said that marketing support and monetary support when it comes to hosting events is important for them to consider, and they would want more support from FIS when it comes to these two aspects. Now, these were the primary findings from phase 1 that we had collected leading up to July, and we had also presented these preliminary findings in Barcelona. As you will see through the rest of the presentation, we have branched out our findings across the different stakeholder groups because we conducted specific interviews with a smaller number of people, and Juno will be taking you through those findings. Now, some of the findings have been listed per stakeholder group because there were no large number of consistent findings that we could find that were valid across all the stakeholder groups. So Juno will be taking you through the interview process.
Thanks, Abhinav. So for the phase 1, we interviewed marketers and broadcasters. First, marketers. We interviewed 3 marketers. One of them noted that without top athletes, it's difficult to sell TV rights. So it's important to make the event attractive for top athletes. They also mentioned that combining related disciplines such as ski cross and snowboard cross into one event would lead to larger and better event. And they believe that cooperation with third-party events such as X Games and TTR events would benefit the development of the sport. Okay, broadcasters. We interviewed 4 broadcasters. Everyone said that broadcasters are interested in creating heroes, and they want to have an opportunity to highlight the heroes, especially during the off seasons. Also, one of them said that consistent TV production standards are needed, and also lack of on-site entertainment could reduce the value of the events. Lastly, they mentioned that resistance to combining freestyle ski disciplines and snowboard disciplines into one event would increase the production cost for broadcasters. So now we are moving on to phase 2. For phase 2, we interviewed sponsors and event organizers. Sponsors, we interviewed sponsors from 3 different parties. They said that FIS events need more visibility to be attractive for sponsors. However, the sponsors are satisfied with the FIS. They see the clear value of being associated with the FIS. And one of them noted that as FIS doesn't hold the TV rights, so sponsors of the FIS would face the conflict with the sponsors of national ski federations. So lastly, we interviewed event organizer from the third-party event and one from the FIS. Okay. They said that the snowboard and freestyle ski disciplines are always changing and developing quite fast. So their competition formats are often changing. However, the competitions should not only allow the development of the sports, but also they should allow the athletes to develop their skills and techniques. So they say that there is a need to create the distinction between various events, as some events are totally different in the formats. And they believe that partnership with third-party events would be beneficial for both in terms of knowledge sharing. So now David is going to talk about recommendations for FIS.
Thank you, Juno. So after key findings, time for a few recommendations, and actually we came up with 4 of them. And let me take you through the first one. The first one is about creating outsourcing relationship between FIS and third-party events. When I mention third-party event, it's all about X Games and TTR, for example. The idea is the following, is to leave FIS, the owner of the event, but to let a third party organize it. And by doing so, we believe it would lead to improve the event atmosphere, having more like a festival ambiance on site. Secondly, as X Games is doing, it would also lead to tighter sponsorships and increased revenues, something FIS is not doing so far. And finally, as the product would be exciting and unique, we generally think it would also raise the awareness of FIS and its discipline. The second one is about combining similar discipline from freestyle skiing and snowboard into a larger event. The main point and the main issue is the following, is about TV broadcast and production. If you combine different disciplines into one, then it may raise an higher cost of production and may not be cost efficient in terms of TV production. So the recommendation we come up with is to combine a similar discipline which have the same course, the same audience, and the same TV format production. For example, combining freestyle skiing and snowboard slopestyle together. By doing so, we believe it would improve the atmosphere, like with ever-changing action on site. And secondly, it will also improve the quality of judging with enabling sharing best practices between judges between different disciplines. The third recommendation is about coordination of TV rights. As we mentioned earlier, TV rights are not centrally handed out by FIS. They are the property of MSA as an LOCs. And when it comes to market themselves, it's quite difficult. So we believe if FIS would be in a position to centrally hand out its rights, it would make their life easier and obviously increase their revenues, which as a consequence increase the quality of courses and probably also increase the prize money. And secondly, if TV rights are centrally handed out, it will also simplify the process to all stakeholders involved and make the product more appealing to broadcasters as well. There. Finally, as we have Abhinav with us, who has extensive experience in TV, we decided to make a few specific recommendations on broadcast. And the first one is access to athletes for broadcasters is the following. The idea here is that TVs would like, and FIS as well, would like to build heroes. It's not only just broadcasting athletes, but it's about telling stories, going off the track, and knowing a bit more about the human instead of just the athletes. So that's the first recommendation. The second one is more like a logistic one. As we have many different disciplines going around many different territories, we believe like a standardized TV production would make sense. And finally, we believe it would be also helpful to stream highlights a few days after the events, as well as making these highlights available to non-TV right holders to make the sport more popular. So these were the 4 recommendations we came up with, and I give the words to Catherine for the conclusion.
Great, thank you. So as we see today, freestyle ski and snowboard is an always ever evolving and changing sport. And so we believe that through our qualitative and quantitative data collection methods with the survey and the interviews, that if FIS adapts and implements our recommendations, they can increase their sponsorship and marketability, as well as increase their broadcast and audience interest. So we thank you so much for being here today. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.